everyone, and welcome back to Episode Club. Today we are going to be talking Season 6, Episode 3, Oathbreaker, and it's an all-Canadian ladies panel today. Me and Clarissa Thompson will be talking about this crazy episode. So, Clarissa, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on again, Mackenzie.
Yeah, like Clarissa, you've probably been on a lot of episodes of clubs this season and be on for more. So it'll just be so awesome and can't wait to talk about this episode. A lot of stuff happens in this episode. A lot of big movements happen in this episode. For some characters, other ones, they just, it continues on. And one of those characters happens to be Samuel Tarley, and it's just him and Gilly and baby Sam on their way to Hornhill. And basically, Sam's like, I'll leave you with my mother and sister. And Gilly just bees Gilly. So, what do you think about Sam?
I love how they use this opportunity to have Gilly sort of express how much she's realized since she's learned how to read. Did I ever tell you that I thought that it was called the sea because there was water as far as you could see? You know, the fact that she understands now that there's a difference in what those mean simply because now she knows how to spell, which is, I think it's wonderful. It shows the joy of learning and how opportunities open up to people with education. And of course, Gilly's she's just lovely. Nobody can argue any differently about Gilly, in my opinion. Like she's lovely. So
yeah, she's just kind of and the whole thing of, I think it's comedic because she says no, something about little Sam and how we'll always be together, and then it's Sam throwing up because he doesn't like the boat and all that stuff, because Sam and a lot of vomit or vomit-inducing scenes come in these later seasons, which is just like, ooh.
Poor Sam, like he's just become kind of the like barf king of Game of Thrones. It's unfortunate, but you can tell that he is feeling guilty that he never shared this information before they got on a boat to head to his home. I mean, they needed that's something she should have known.
It's like, where are we going? It's like, we're gonna go to Old Town, and it's like, sure, but I can't go there. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry. It's just like it's like the lying and that Sam has to do. But if anybody had to be stuck with anybody, Sam's mom's probably not the worst person to be stuck with.
No, it's true, right? When you do meet Lady Tarley, like you said, she's lovely. She's a lovely lady.
It's just her husband who happens to be a little bit of an asshole.
Yeah, well, arranged marriages.
Exactly. So that's kind of where we leave Sam this episode, because he gets more shining moments coming soon. But we'll jump all the way across the narrow sea to Arya and Bravos. And basically, this is after she's kind of gotten her eyes back and she's just doing more training, which personally, in my opinion, like they could have just had her get her eyes back and then not shown all of these scenes, because it's just like it would have made much more of an impact. So we come back, we get her in episode 8 and 9, and then all of that stuff happens. It's just
yeah. I mean, I understand they had to give her somewhat of a montage. I think I've mentioned this before about Arya, is that there have been times where it's like, it would have been nice if they had given us more montage stuff to get an idea of where her skill level has come. But they give her a bit of a montage, and then it's Jack and Hagar is just the questioning with the a girl has no name thing. And here's the thing that I kind of was interested in. Like, I know there's a lot of theories out there about Arya no actually being the waif.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if that were the case, they had an opportunity to kill her right there with the poison. And Jack and even says in this scene that, if a girl is truly no one, she has nothing to fear. Right? And we've seen what happens when other people drink that water. So the god of death, for whatever reason, has decided that this is going to cure her vision, not kill her.
Yeah. The way Johnny has kind of explained this to me is that the cup is usually laced. That's the same type of water, and that the cup is usually laced with whatever poison is needed for that person. So, like for the old man, that's like with, I guess, not the long farewell, but probably some like a high dose of like milk of the poppy or something. That same thing with the little girl. It's like kind of like that mystique. It's not the pool of water, because I think it's called something tears or something, that it's like that the pool is called, but it's something like that. So
Mm-hmm. I mean, is that explained in the books
it's
or
more or
something?
less, it's more the lore of the House of Black and White is more or less explained in the book. I like it's not I don't remember. This is where I date Johnny. Like more or less of this is just it's more of the lore of the House of Black and White is more explained, because you get it from Arya's perspective and you get more backstory. They kind of threw the bone of the House of Black and White and just kind of let it just
Mm-hmm.
get what you want from it. But yeah.
I have to say that I do wonder. Like, I mean, I understand how that would be a possibility, or I just don't really see, like, if we're talking about a group of people who have access to magic that allow them to turn into other people when they put on their faces, why wouldn't they have access to magic water? Like, I'm not saying that, that automatically means their water is magic, but I'm just saying that water is magic. It comes from unicorns. But
Unicorn.
you never know.
Well, in Skagos, there is horny goats who may be unicorns, so
Yeah.
which is
Well,
a basic book.
but I think that it's just, that was how I've always seen it since I saw the scene, was that the water is magic, and that for whatever reason she's been given a pass. And I think that ultimately when that comes later on, when she leaves the House of Black and White, despite the fact that she is saying I'm Arya Stark, uh, and has taken back her name, that she's let go without any pursuit that is immediate of any kind. I think that, like many other characters in this series, there's a bigger picture, and that Arya has a place in that bigger picture, and that the god of death knows that it's, this is her path, and perhaps beyond the House of Black and White and the Faceless Men.
Yeah, there's that whole thing of it's getting her where she needs to be in the end, and eventually she gets there, as we see later on in the season and the next in season 7 and into season 8. She's just got her tools and she's ready to use them.
I'm stoked about it. So stoked.
So we go to Winterfell. In another scene, we go to Winterfell, and basically the Umbers, led by Small John Umber, have arrived at Winterfell, and they've brought Ramsay a gift, being Rickon and Osha, which is not a good thing, because it means that this kid's about to die. So
Yeah, I think we all looked at poor Rickon, and the second that he just sneered and said nothing, we thought, how long is this kid going to make it? Those of us seasoned veterans that made it to season 6 are like, yeah, how long is this kid going to stay alive? And Shaggy Dog's head on the meat hook. That made me sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're just like, God damn it. But they kind of made you forget about Rickon for like 3 seasons, and then you're like, oh yeah. But it's just like, come on. And you know that Ramsey's gonna obviously do something so stupid or so
Awful
with him, even though obviously we don't see that, but you know it's coming. And man, like, but there's that voice with Ramsey who's welcome back, Lord Stark, and it's like you know that he's gonna do something bad to Rickon, and it just, and then Osha and what happens to her later, just.
I know. Oh, so bad. I will say, like, I don't like Small John Umber. Don't get me wrong. But I thought that it did show a lot of his character when he was like, I'm not pledging my allegiance to you. And, you know, Ramsey is just, he's taken aback, and he was just like, no. He's like, my dad took an oath. How did that work out for him? You know, Robb Stark's father took an oath, like Ned Stark took an oath. Look what happened to him, sort of thing. And he was just like, no, here, but I got something for you, because I'm sick of this crap. And yeah, and also the fact that he knows that Ramsey was responsible for his father's death. When he was just like, "That's why you killed your father," and my father was poisoned by his enemies, and he's like, huh. Like, he doesn't even say anything to, or no, he goes, like,
Yeah, like, yeah.
So that's the story that's being told, is it? All right, whatever.
Yeah, because in this now we see also that not only the Karstarks now back Ramsay and the Boltons, but so did the Umbers, which is, it's not doing so hot for Team John when he shows up later.
Those are two very important houses in the north.
Yeah, it's like, you're not doing so well, but yeah, Ramsay gets a new little plaything for 5 minutes, which just irks you in with that.
But Roose was right. I mean, his game playing was ultimately his undoing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like you lost your wife and you lost Theon. Yeah.
Ramsay's life is a country song.
Yeah.
You lost your castle, you lost your wife, you lost your prisoner.
Yeah, you lost everything, and it's like, but I get it back.
My horse.
Yeah, it's like, but you get it back in the end, and it's just, oh, God. But we'll see eventually what happens to Rickon. Bom, 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 Wednesday night.
What happens, folks? Tune in Wednesday.
Exactly. Next off, we'll go a little bit to Vase Dothrak, where basically Dany is meeting with the Khalasar about her status at the Dosh Khaleen, and yeah, she's just sitting here for an episode. It's like, God damn it! Couldn't you just shove this in the other episode where she like actually does all the burning and the walking through fire?
They had to lead up to it for the sake of good TV.
I know. Just like, God damn it. And yeah, she's just they talk about her and Khal Drogo and how that all of these wives were all promised that their Khal would do great things for them and like conquer the world, and it doesn't happen. If only Khal Drogo was alive today. How different the story would have been for her.
I know. It's so true. But and you really do get a sense of affection for, is she like the head mistress of the Dosh Khaleen, or like the head, or is she just, just taking Dany under her wing sort of thing?
She is the high, I checked, and she is the high priestess of the Dosh Khaleen.
Okay, so yeah.
Important.
And I think that you do get a real sense of her, you definitely get a sense of her importance. Mm-hmm. Because you feel like everybody listens to what she has to say. Also that, that she has real compassion. The way that she says that she hopes that Danny can stay with the Dosh Colleen.
Yeah. Because it's like, hey, we get to have somebody else join, a new person who joins us. But yeah, she also mentions that we want you. It's like basically a thing of we want you, but we don't know if they will let us have you, kind of thing. And then, but we find out later that she's allowed to stay. And then Danny's like, no, but I want to go. Like, I need to leave. I need to be the mother of dragons. And I got no dragons with me at this point. And yeah, it's just her learning about what she needs to do. And I think this is potentially where she starts to figure out, what can I do to get out of here?
How can I get out of this? And then it's like, oh, good thing I ran into Jorah and am I gapping out on the name?
Jorah and Dario.
Dario, thank you. It's like going to the club. I'm gonna go have a pee. Hey, Jorah, Dario.
Yeah,
how's it going?
Yeah, you're just like, yeah. And like going away from like the new people that want to be your friends and find your old friends. You're like, I'm back where I belong.
You're
like, I'm back where I belong.
These people are kind of clingy. They like want me to do stuff. So
they really like me for some reason. And
that's so funny. So maybe it's my hair.
I think it is maybe my hair because it's white hair where everybody else is just dark hair. Like, come on, I'm special.
To them, I'm a genetic anomaly. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, it's a short-lived scene in Vice Dothrak, but it is.
It's important.
Yes, and it's leading up to super duper awesome stuff.
Mm-hmm. The big
that we will disclose in a future episode.
Dun, dun, dun. Club. Which you happen to be on. Bum, bum, bum. Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
So we get in Marine, which is where Danny's supposed to be, Varys talking to a woman named Vala, not Val. Vala. And basically it's like, you can run away, and you have to just stop the Sons of the Harpy. She's just like, sure, I'll take the money and run, kind of thing. But we know that the Sons of the Harpy aren't finished yet.
Well, she has to be convinced to take the money and run, because basically she thinks she's there to be tortured. And then Varys is like, I don't do that, but it's too bad about your kid. I mean, if something happened to you. And he's like, I would never hurt your kid, but how is he going to get by without you, especially with his breathing problems? And so she's like, straight up, like, listen, if I tell you anything, they will kill us. And he's like, well, you know the punishment for betraying the queen. So he goes, but there's a big fat bag of money there and a ship waiting for you and your kid if you want to open up. All the time Tyrion's upstairs with Grey Worm and Missandei.
Yeah, having some drinking games. It's like, what is this? Varys tries to do the right thing, and I guess he does the right thing because he gets the answers that he wants. But then also, it's just you kind of sort of supported a person who murdered somebody, so it's like, it's hard to tell. But yeah, Varys does the right thing in the end, anyway. And then, yes, like you said, we see Tyrion and Missandei and Grey Worm basically playing a drinking game. And it's like 2 truths and a lie, almost, I think, is what they want to play. And it's like this new game that Tyrion has invented. So everybody, blame Tyrion Lannister for 2 truths and a lie when you drink. And then I think this is also, too, where they talk about how the wise masters of Yunkai and the good masters of Astapor are coming to visit.
Yeah. Send word to them. I think that it's hilarious some of the things that he's like, let's play a game. And Missandei's like, the master used to have us play games. And he's like, excellent. And she's like, the girls. And he's like, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. That's not what I'm talking about here. Or and Grey Worm was actually good deadpan humor. You speak however many languages. You must use them to talk about things. What would you guys be talking about now? Patrol.
Going on patrol.
What I've seen on patrol. Who we picked up on patrol. And he's just like, yawn. Poor Tyrion.
Like, boring. It's like those people who are just like, I just do this and I like crochet in the corner and all this stuff. Like, it's like that kind of like type of conversation that they would be having. And it's just like, oh no.
Kind of like a bunch of us talking about Game of Thrones when we're at a party.
Yeah, like in the corner, and then like, at like some other type of part, like at the club, just like, did you guys see the latest Game of Thrones episode? And the people at the club are like, what the hell are you doing? But yeah, Tyrion tries to be nice, and he's like, drink. Yeah. So now Tyrion has some drinking buddies besides Varys, which, hey, good thing. I know.
I don't know if I've ever seen Varys drink. Have we?
I think maybe one time, maybe, or it's alluded to that he would, but he doesn't. It's something like that, or it's like it's just. I said that wrong. I think it's like Tyrion sits with Varys while Tyrion. That's probably more or less what it is. It's like I don't think he actually drinks himself. It's just he just sits there with the empty or the cup there, but then somebody else probably comes and drinks it. But yeah, that Tyrion's just. Say, send the birds, send the little birds the messages, because has them everywhere. And speaking of little birds, Qyburn has taken over Varys's little birds, and
he did a merger with the Little Bird Network.
Yeah, and Cersei's happy that she has some little birds of her own. Not like she didn't have them already, but she has some more.
She has more better ones.
Yeah, the best ones, because they worked for Varys. And even Qyburn is just like, if you have little friends that want some sweets, I'll give them to them. Give them to them. They just gotta come and find me, which is just like the creepiest thing ever, because it's Qyburn that's like come to me and I'll give you sweets. It's like, no, not today. Yeah.
I had to remind myself that Qyburn was first in the show being rescued by Robb Stark. Well, at what am I gapping? The castle that the dragons burned down. Like long ago. Like in the Duncan Egg Chronicles. And then they use it and
I can't remember.
Tywin Lannister was there for a bunch of time when Arya
Harrenhal.
Thank you, Harrenhal. I'm like, I know this. But like when they arrive at Harrenhal and everybody, they find all those people executed and they're like, you're still alive. You're lucky. And he sits up and he goes, lucky. That was Qyburn. I was like, so he must have stayed or something. I mean, how did he end up at King's Landing again?
Qyburn, it was...
did he go with Tywin's troops afterwards?
He was with Jaime, so he was there in Harrenhal, and then Jaime treats him and all of that stuff. So it's like it's that sort of thing.
He treats Jaime.
Mm-hmm.
When Jaime is with Roose Bolton.
Yeah. And then Jaime
goes... Yeah, that's right. Okay. So yeah, but when he came back into the show later on, I was like, I had to go back. I was like, oh yeah, it was that guy that Robb found at Harrenhal.
Yeah. He was, and Qyburn, he was sat out of Yeah, he was sent out of the Citadel because of some bad things that he was doing to people.
Weird experimentation and
Yeah,
stuff.
weird shit.
And his Kyburn's monster.
Yeah, so Gregor Clegane, the Mountain, and how he's becoming who he's supposed to. And this is where, yeah, he gets his suit of armor, and pretty much that that also Cersei wants to have as much information about Dorne as possible, because of what they did to Marcella as well as Highgarden and the North. So it's like you collect all these little birds and let them fly for a bit, which they do. And after we see her in the small council, and everybody just like, nope, we're not dealing with you. No, no. And then finally they say the right things, and they're like, fine. Which is basically the Tyrells are gonna get Marjorie out of Sept of Baelor. So what did you kind of think with Olenna and all of the
Well, I mean, they work on that plan a little later on. Like in this sitting, this basically just Jaime and Cersei and Qyburn and the Mountain walking in, and right as Pycelle is saying how they should have the Mountain terminated, because he's this big scary monster. And they walk in right as they're saying that, and they do the ridiculous comic relief fart scene with Qyburn. And I have to say, the reactions to the Mountain in this episode are funny. Just like in that previous scene where they're when they're in the workshop with Qyburn, I mean, and they let out a bit of JB's douchey personality where he goes, "How much does he understand anyway? I mean, as much as he ever understood anything." And the fact that he's just like, "Hey." Like, oh, okay, well, maybe I better watch my mouth.
Yeah.
So he like, then when they're at the small council, again, he tries to get all like lippy. And they're like, unless you're going to set that thing after us, we're out. And they walk out, right? So it's like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, because now Kevin Lannister is Hand of the King, which Cersei does not want. She doesn't want Uncle Kevin sitting beside her son anywhere, anyway, anyhow. And Pycelle and Mace Tyrell and Olenna are still there, and they want Marjorie out. They want Marjorie and Loras out of the Sept. And Cersei's like, okay, we can maybe make a deal where the Tyrells show up and we'll get it going. And then obviously,
and they're like, no.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Also, with the whole thing with Jaime argues that because he's Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, he has the abilities to do what he wants with the Kingsguard. And then Pycelle's just like, don't have like too much. You're like not really you're not really a knight, but you're also not really like the Lord Commander. You're just in the middle, and you get the titles. And then there's obviously the mention about Marcella and what they're gonna do with Dorne, because Dorne's not in the fold, but they're in the fold at the same time.
As usual.
Yeah, they're just dealing with so much stuff. It's just
they're on Dorne time.
Dorne time. Oh my god, Dorne is just the worst storyline in the show, and that just keeps. At least they talk about it, and they don't show us this episode, which is just peachy keen. And yeah, pretty much they just leave Cersei, the Mountain, and Jaime in the small council room, which is like so sad, but also, but it's also, hey, you kind of deserve it for being so mean all the time.
Yeah.
And then we get Tommen with the Kingsguard going to ask the High Sparrow if Cersei can go to Marcella's funeral. And the High Sparrow's like, nope, because she's not clean enough to walk into the Sept of Baelor. And Tommen doesn't like that. He doesn't like his mommy not being able to be treated right.
But sweet Tommen, as soon as the High Sparrow sort of like orders away his guards, then he, orders away his guards. He's like, okay. Like, he does have a sense of fairness, and I think that he took some of what his grandfather said to heart, even though it was a short-lived period of consultation. And he listens to what the High Sparrow has to say. I mean, the High Sparrow is a douche and is really just expressing his own ego through different means. I think I've probably talked about this before when talking about the High Sparrow. I really see him as one of these characters that he sees himself as pious. He throws himself on the, on the feet of, the gods. But really, it's just another affectation of, this leadership is another affectation of his ambition.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Exactly. It's one of those things where just like, yeah. And the whole thing of this whole Cersei not being clean enough is very much like a very religious thing of the times in England, I'm pretty sure, where stuff, when people were wrong, they had to go through more things to try and make them better. Obviously, it's with different circumstances, but yeah, the fact that Cersei has more to do, and more
like
to go through.
Like Louis King Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
George likes to always draw from history, so I'm not surprised that this was added in as well.
Oh, and it was so good, and the foreshadowing with Tommen saying, you would have brought I should have brought the roof down on their heads. You would have done that for me, right? So, and it's all like planting a seed.
It's one of those many seeds that you just, when you sit back and think about it, like, right, all of these steps have kind of happened. And yeah, that's with the whole trial of the 7, it's just Tommen's like, why does she have to go through that? And he's like, because it's the will of the gods. And Tommen's just like, damn it. And yeah,
curses the gods again.
And Tommen's just like, well, but he gets easily swayed, as we see coming in the next couple of episodes, that Cersei gets the problematic child in the 3rd child. She thought Joffrey was problematic, but Tommen, although he was kind of the forgotten child, he's creating more problems now, more than ever, and it's not doing so well.
I don't know that he created the problems. I think that the problems were laid on him, but Cersei caused the problems.
Yeah.
It was her going over his head and disrespecting his rule as king that screwed everything up.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just talking a whole bunch of gibberish. I'm just sitting here just like going, well, maybe this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure too, like the choices that Tommen makes as far as like becoming buddy with the faith militants and stuff eventually. I mean, I understand the strategy in that, but also I don't know that it was necessarily a strategy on his part. He's definitely naive enough to think that, okay, well, this is the right thing to do, right? This is the right thing to do, right? So, yeah.
Yeah,
poor Tommen.
He's young in his rulership, and he hasn't had really a stable hand of the king or his mother involved in his reign. And so, yeah, he's allowed to kind of make mistakes. And plus, even these mistakes weren't even the biggest mistakes that he could have made. He could have made far worse in reality.
It's like, I'm staying in bed with my cat. Go away.
Sir Pounce. R.I.P. to Sir Pounce.
No. When did they end Sir Pounce? Because I've been hearing that this is official, that Sir Pounce has died.
I think it was after the Sept Baylor blow up that Cersei just axed him off after Tommen wasn't there anymore. But I think she said, I think it said that Cersei kills him or something like that. So it's like, yeah, because Tommen's not there and she probably hated the cat anyway. So it's like,
because that would clinch my Cersei opinion. She was responsible for the end of Sir Pounce. That's it for her.
yeah, I think it was she was
dead to me
for the end of Sir Pounce. I'm pretty sure.
Goodbye, rest in peace, Sir Pounce. We shall avenge you.
Your death will be avenged 1,000 times over. Or like Ramsay's quote to Miranda in the episode 2.
So true.
Episode 1, sorry.
We love you, Sir Pounce.
I know. It was a cute cat for like what the cat was. And
so sweet, a kitty.
And then the kitty had to die. See, now even animals don't fare well in
no. Nobody's safe. You win or you die, Sir Pounce.
Exactly. And Sir Pounce did not win. Moving on to another animal or bird you want to talk about. We see Bran, and he has now gone into the past, and he sees the Tower of Joy, which has been this elusive place in the books, and kind of what happens with the end of Robert's Rebellion. And he's young Ned, young Arthur Dayne, young Howland Reed, a few bannermen / men of the Reach and the North, as well as 3 Kingsguard. And it's just
there's just 3 of them. There's Sir Arthur Dayne and Sir Gerald Hightower, and there's like a 3rd dude.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not sure if they did 2, because I know in the books it's 3. So it's Sir Oswald Went, Sir Gerald Hightower, and Arthur Dayne.
They do have. There are 3 guys when they arrive in the episode.
So then there we go. Then the one person just doesn't get a name.
The red shirt armored guy.
Yeah, he's one of those weird people. And Bran sees that what his father told him isn't actually the truth. What do you kind of think about this? I know you don't really know too much about RLJ books or the Tower of Joy book stuff, but
I do remember, I've been following a lot of the Game of Thrones lore, and I've been following the history and lore animated episodes, and I've been following the Game of Thrones community for a couple years now, so I am somewhat familiar with it. I'm going into the books fully knowing that there's spoilers been made in my future, so which is fine. But one thing that I never really got was, okay, so we know by the end of the season why Ned goes there. In the story up to that point where they're telling the story of how he fights and kills Sir Arthur Dayne, do they explain why they go to Dorne? Because we know why they go to Dorne, like the real reason. But what is the fake reason they go to Dorne? Just to kill off the rest of the Targaryen supporters?
It was, well, there was rumors. Okay, so what happens is that there was rumors that Lyanna was taken by Rhaegar, and that she was taken to Dorne.
Right.
Because that was would have been the safest place for her, even though in all actual reality it's kind of not when you're taking your new girlfriend to your ex-wife's house, pretty much. it's not a good idea. And there was rumors floating around that Lyanna was in Dorne during those different battles and sequences and stuff, and it's not exactly clear why that Ned knew exactly where she was in the Tower of Joy, because Dorne is massive. It's, I think, probably the 2nd largest area within Westeros. But I think it's because Ned knew that Arthur Dayne was basically Rhaegar's right-hand man, and he wasn't there, and that he was at this place called Tower of Joy. So that's probably why he was there. And I'll see that
Because he's in the battle where Robert kills Rhaegar, right?
Rhaegar, no, Arthur Dayne was not there. He was sent with Lyanna and the wet nurse and those two other knights to protect her in the Tower of Joy.
I meant Ned was on the battlefield with Robert when he killed.
I believe no, he was sent away when that happened.
Okay, okay.
Because Robert had fought, I think, 3 many battles, and half the time Ned wasn't there because he had to go rally more troops and send more people other places. So yeah, I don't think Ned was there. Because at the time he was there, it was because in the dialogue at the time that they had shown up that Robert had already defeated Rhaegar. Because they say your friend, the usurper, would have lied beneath the ground if we had been there.
Right.
So he was already on the way to Dorne by that point. And obviously in this, Bran is completely confused that this is going on. And Bran eventually hears screams in the tower. Obviously, we know that this is Lyanna. And she's essentially crying, having the cries of childbirth, but Bran and we don't get to see what happened. But
no,
I feel like this was well done for what it is. And in the books, Arthur Dayne is not a dual wielding swordsman, because I don't think they made Dawn, which is his ancestral, the ancestral home, sword of House Dane.
isn't that like the Sword of the Morning?
Yeah, so that's
Dawn.
That's his nickname, isn't the Sword of the Morning?
Right, and his sword's name is Dawn. Got it.
And because it's made out of a meteor that fell supposedly around where Starfall is, which is where the Danes preside. So
right, and that kind of harkens back to season 1 in the series, to when they see the meteor in the sky and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like the Dawn, like a Dawn,
the comet,
like it's like milk. I think it's like the swords described in the books have like a milky glass like type look to the stone, because it's like a meteor and it's supposed to be very special. And there's rumors about where it is. I think it's after, because in this Ned, after the reveal of that Lyanna's dead and everything, they tear down the Tower of Joy. Obviously, in the show, the tearing down of Tower of Joy is very hard to do. Tear it down, and then Ned with young John, like newborn John, and the wet nurse and Howland Reed pretty much go to Starfall, and there's that whole thing there.
Where he gives the sword to Ashara Dane because he killed her brother and and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm kind of like, I kind of know a bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it's after they leave Starfall that they go back to Winterfell with John. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes a few months to get there, but yeah, they get back with John. Yeah,
but Bran doesn't know that it was Howland Reed that basically
he didn't know that happened. He assumed that his father killed him the honorable way, because being stabbed in the back is not so honorable.
I mean, in Ned's defense, he's not the one who stabbed him in the back.
No.
He cut off his head.
Yeah. But it's just the fact that wasn't told, and it's just Bran's learning more about the truth and everything. Yeah.
He's not going to be dissing his boy, though. He's not going to be all like talking shit about him. Be all like, you know what Howland did? Ooh. Yeah. So
he saved my life. So
yeah. So and this is the one where Ned's starting to climb the tower, then Bran
yells, "Father!"
Yeah.
So people either think that either it's the wind, or it's Bran being able to speak to people in the past and maybe influence the future.
Well, and we get a taste of what that means later on in the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got to watch it, Bran. Don't be dumb.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if one wrong thing and you change all of the future. We kind of leave Bran there, and he again is told you can't stay there, or else you stay too long and you'll drown. And that also the raven, the three-eyed raven, has waited 1,000 years for Bran, and that Bran will know in time why he's so special and why he's there, and he must learn everything. So he hasn't downloaded the, as Ben called it the other day, the Weirwood Wi-Fi.
Right?
He will soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of leave Bran in the north with that. So we kind of get to our last couple scenes here at the wall. So
Yeah.
it's actually the
And
first
the
scene.
opening scene and the closing scene of the episode.
Exactly. And the first scene we get is John waking up from the dead. And Davos and Melisandre talk to him about it.
Have I talked about the back? I think I've talked about the back before.
We
That is
talked about it a
some
little bit.
back. John, that is some back you got going on. And I'm not talking like, baby got back. I'm talking like I didn't know that a person's back could be sexy. But he made it work. He made it work. Good for you, Kit Harington. Well done.
Now it's, what is it? Like now a hashtag for you instead of Adama Mama. It's like John knows something or another. I'll figure out.
John's back bitch.
Exactly. Or if you come up with another one, please put it in the comments of this.
Yeah.
It'd be so funny to read them later.
Not just hashtag Adama Mama or Hunka Hunka Hilo. Gotta throw in John's back bitch.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah. And Davos is like, you're alive. And it's like, do you remember anything that happened? It's like, nope, I don't remember anything.
I love how they like fade in from the darkness and it's just Davos with this look on his face like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It worked. And then when Melisandre comes in, and the fact that she doesn't say anything, she just kind of like stops and her eyes are just like,
mm-hmm. It's like, I did that. I brought him back. Cha-ching.
Well, and I think that considering the loss of faith that she's been, the lapse of faith that she's been experiencing, it's a significant moment for her, which is why she's so like, what did you see?
Yeah. What did you see? Where did you? Oh, after they stabbed you, where did you go? Where did you go? After you died, where did you go? What did you see? And he says, I saw nothing. Like, probably expected to see Ygritte and his father, probably not Catelyn, but like all these people that Rob and all these people who had died before, and he's like, I see nothing. Which takes everybody's faith a little bit too, that there's nothing beyond death.
But does that mean that, like, he wasn't meant to die yet? It wasn't his time.
Yeah.
That's what like, his body might have died. But, like, we have to keep in mind sort of like the spiritual, magical side of the show. And it's like, well, maybe it wasn't his time yet. And that's why he never left his body to the afterlife. It's because it wasn't ready for him.
Yeah. That could be why he doesn't see.
No. He didn't have the guest room ready.
No, Ygritte wasn't ready for him. Just.
I'm working on the cave. Okay, wait a minute. I just kind of sounded like one of the Beatles. Never mind. Or what I like to think, anyway. It sounded like the Beatles. I'm Canadian. What do I know?
And Mel also brings up that Stannis wasn't the prince that was promised, but someone has to be, and potentially it's Jon, and that he's Azor Ahai, and all of these magical names that we give Jon, but he's just like, I don't need any more titles. Just stop giving me titles. And
if Davos rolled his eyes any harder, he'd see his own brain.
Exactly. It's like, you deserve all the titles, son. You deserve all the titles. And Davos gets real with him for a second. It's like, it's completely mad that you're back and no one else is at like this has only happened like a few times. And Jon's just like, I didn't want to come back, but I'm here.
And I died, and and I failed with what I was trying to do.
Yeah, it's like, I failed. And it's like, good, but go fail again. Which, hey, that's a lot of motivation right there. It's just like, for anybody. It's like, I failed. It's like, okay, just, you get another opportunity to fail again, even though it's not the best motivational advice. It's just, go try again.
And a valuable lesson for us all. So remember, folks, failure is just an opportunity to learn.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, it's just that weird thing that John's now put in where he's like, I'm alive, but I've died. And it's that weird state that only very few people have gone into where they've died and then they've come back. And I think this has never happened to me before, but I feel like they did a pretty relatively accurate representation in the person's reaction to coming back from having died, obviously. Not
Yeah, they talk in some detail in the behind the scenes and stuff with Kit Harington about how he was playing it like a rebirth, like sitting up and breathing like babies cry when they're born, but him catching his breath and then looking down at the stab wounds and like putting it all back together and remembering the things that happened and not understanding what happened. And yeah, no, I thought it was brilliantly played. I think it was really considering that Kit Harington's career was made by this series, he has definitely, he's got chops, that kid. He's got chops.
He's flirt like a lot of these young actors who got like this was their first big role out of acting school or just out of like elementary school in general. Like they've done very well for themselves in everything that they have done. Yeah, Kit Harington, yeah, and again, like I mentioned it again, like I've mentioned before, D&D were probably like, yeah, in this off season, go to the gym about 5 times a week and do all of these special diets, and the ladies will love you.
You're gonna be super naked.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna be so naked that you'll be like, why am I this naked on television? But you're gonna be naked. So yeah.
Just get ripped and you'll be ripped.
And then they clothe him very quickly and it's all like, come and say hi to your friends outside.
Yeah, and then John goes outside in fresh Night's Watch armor, and Tormund gives that whole speech about John and the one thing that is wrong, quote unquote, with him. And it's just like, God damn it. It's like the one thing that, yeah, it's the one.
Why would I know you're not a god? If you were a god, why would your pecker be so small? It's like,
yeah, it's the one flaw that they give Jon Snow. He's got everything except that.
Well, I mean, we're talking about from Tormund's point of view. And, he is a man from beyond the wall. So, you know what they say about those guys.
Yeah, very true. Even John, just like when he's getting hugged by Tormund, he's like, ow. Oh. It's like, I did just come back and I have open stab wounds.
They're not gushing or anything, but yeah.
Just like, ow.
And then Ed.
Oh my gosh. Ed is like, that's funny. It's like, are you sure that's still you in there? Like, it's like the perfect Dolores ad, like, line that we get from him. It's just like, you're back. None of us expected you to be back. And like, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. And yeah, and that's sort of like the last fun moment that we see with John in the episode, because the next time we see him, it's not as much joyfulness.
No. So John has to do what the Lord Commander must do and kill people kind of for treason in a sense. And it's a public hanging of Bowen Marsh, Othel Yarwick, Alistair Thorne, and Ollie.
Yeah. And I mean, Yarwick and Marsh, they're kind of like, they're just, they're Thorne's toadies. Like, they were all Thorne's toadies, and Thorne had no remorse for what he did at all. You have to admire the guy that, he gave John credit where credit was due at the time that they were sitting in front of the hall or whatever with all the guys from the Night's Watch. And he was like, yes, I committed treason. He's like, but I never disobeyed an order. He was my Lord Commander and I did what he told me to do. But I have no doubt that he thought he was doing the right thing, but he was doing the wrong thing. And we're all going to suffer because of it. He firmly believed with all of his heart that what John was doing was going to end the Night's Watch, when really what John can see is that the Night's Watch is quickly coming to an end on its own. And it doesn't matter what they do. The Night King's coming. So, we just have to not, this has to not be an issue. We can't let this be an issue. And Alistair Thorne is like, old school, it must be such and such a way, and
my way or the highway kind of thing.
Yeah, and John's the young upstart. No, man, I've got ideas. Screw your ideas. And even right to the point that he has a noose around his neck. He's like, I did my duty. I did my watch. Now it's ended, and now I rest. Now I'm done. And then Ollie, well, hashtag fuck Ollie.
Yes. Ollie. But yeah, it's like one of the Bo and Marsh is like, can you write to my mother in White Harbor?
In White Harbor.
Like, sure. But he's like, I'm not going to do that. And John hesitates for a second before he does swing his sword to rob the men and hang them. Like, he thinks about it for a second, but then also remembers the pain that they've caused him, and they killed him. And it's also staring at Ollie as well and looking at the face of a child that you're about to take the life of. But he's like, but he killed me. And yeah, John just is like, he killed me and that's it. Like, I get to do my final act as Lord Commander before I give it up. And I give it to Dolores Ed.
And Ed is just like, as John's walking away, he's like just holding it like, huh?
It's like, you give it to me? Of all people?
Well, and it's a cloak. They all wear that cloak, right? And he's just like, what do you want me to do with this? He's like, I don't care.
Wear it.
Burn it.
Doesn't matter. You have Castle Black.
I'm done. Yeah. And he was just like, what? And that, at that moment, I think everybody sort of had a similar sort of like, does this mean they're going to execute John?
No, he's relieved of his Night's Watch vows.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they address that later on. But at the end of that episode, it just walks with John walking away. And you're like, so are they going to kill him for abandoning the watch? Like, what now?
Yeah, he kind of, my watch has ended. And it's like, yep.
And now my watch has ended.
And yeah, so now Dolores Ed is the 999th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. And John just leaves, and you're left wondering, but Santa's coming! And it's like, God damn it. You think that they'll miss each other, but find out what happens next episode, even though you all know what's happened.
Yeah. Right? Tune into the next episode club to find out what happened.
Da, da, da.
Not really, but
Exactly.
Watch it anyway. You know you wanna.
You know you want to, because hey, we have a lovely discussion on that one.
So I did like this movie. This movie. I did like this episode. It was a transitional episode. Like, I think that the most eventful stuff was Winterfell and the Wall. And everything else, I think it was just like, even more so, just the Wall was the big sort of thing. John's up. And then he executes people. And everything else was like plot here, discuss there, train here, get your eyeballs back there, a continuation of the story where, everybody's on the edge of their seat for the John's alive moment. Where's my picture?
Oh no, something's happened.
There I am.
There we go. Yeah, it's like that moment of just, it's those big stepping stones for a lot of characters to kind of set them up for the next episode is really what this episode is about. And we get a really cool flashback in the end, which is just awesome.
So good.
Awesome.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. I think John and I will be talking about that episode when it comes up later on. But so what do you give this episode?
This is a transitional episode. I'm going to give it 8 candied plums for all of my little birds.
Yes.
And tell your friends about Episode Club, because we always have sweets for them.
Yeah, subscribe for more sweets being Episode Club.
Hit the like and subscribe.
Yeah, and you'll get some more sweets your way. Dun dun dun. No. I'd probably give this episode, I'll give it 8.25. My watch has ended. Mic drops. And it's just like, my watch has ended, and it's like, boom, shakalaka. And yeah, it's a good episode overall. It's a good transition one. Yeah, honestly, what does everybody else rate this episode? I want to know. Tell me, and what's it out of? Make it good ones. So,
put it in the comments down below.
Exactly. So, Clarissa, where can everybody find you?
Hi, everybody. You can find me on Twitter at Thompson Cootie Girl under Clarissa Thompson. You can also find me on Facebook, Clarissa Thompson. You'll often find me in Geek Chat 1. So, hey, come on, join us in Geek Chat 1 and get geeky. Otherwise, you can find me Friday nights on the Cylon Johns with Mackenzie here and our fellow Cylon Jills, Amy True and Bobby Catalano, with our hosts, John Baptise and Johnny B. Crazy. And we'll talk about generally awesome things in Battlestar Galactica. And you never know when you're going to see me next or where you're going to see me next, because I don't know where I'm going to be next, but maybe you'll see me there.
You'll always see Clarissa some way, somehow.
Somewhere.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining me for this episode.
Thanks, Mackenzie.
It's like, yes, we get to do this episode. It's one of those also good ones of this season. Yes, it's memorable because of what happens in it, but it's just a good one overall. You can most definitely find me here on my channel for Episode Club. We're getting these all out so fast. It's nuts, and I hope you are enjoying the conversations that we're having on these episodes, because we work so hard to try and get them out for you and that you enjoy them. And you can find me here, I guess, on my channel, where on Wednesday we will be talking Season 6, Episode 9, Battle of the Bastards. And then every Wednesday, when the new season comes out, we will be talking all of those episodes with new people who have been on Episode Club before, and it'll just be so awesome. And you can also find me on Johnny's channel. His links are in the description. John St. Baptiste's links are in the description. Everybody who's ever been on Episode Club pretty much has their links in the description. With that, we'll see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Episode Club. Today we are going to be talking Season 6, Episode 4, The Book of the Stranger. And no surprise, these ladies are back again. Yes, we are filming this all on the same time, in the same timeline. So don't worry, but we're still going to have a great show for you today. Ladies, introduce yourselves once again.
Yes, hello, we have returned for another great episode, The Book of the Stranger. And thank you, Mackenzie, for having me on. Clarissa, thank you for sitting with us for another hour and rambling along with us. So, again, we're going to ramble, so we hope you guys enjoy.
And hello again, everyone. I'm Clarissa Thompson, and I have the honor of being on yet another episode of Episode Club with the lovely Mackenzie and the lovely Alicia. I'm very pleased that they have invited me to join them yet again, and talking about some of our favorite geekdom of all time, Game of Thrones. How could we go wrong?
Exactly. How could you not go wrong with talking about Game of Thrones? We're so close to the end of this show, to the beginning of the end of the show, rather, that you just got to talk about it all. So, the first scene we'll go to is one of the smaller scenes in this episode, which is Pike. And it's basically Theon returning home and finding out that everything that he left has now just is up and messed with. So, what do you kind of think about Theon and him arriving at Pike at one of the most weirdest times that they've had in a long time on Pike?
Theon always seems to have expectations that are never delivered when he's going back to the Iron Islands. First time he went there, he thought it was going to be one way, and it certainly wasn't. And now this time, I think he thought, so again, people were going to be happy to see him. And nah, dude, I tried to come and save your fucking life, and half my men died, and your dumbass sat there in a cage. Why are you here? What exactly can you do for me? Nothing? Stop wasting my time. That's basically how I feel about it.
I think you feel very much the way that Yara felt about it. She's like, now you're here. I wasted all my time, wasted all my men, pissed off our dad, and then he got killed, and now you're here? Like, what are you playing at, kid? So, but obviously, I mean, we know that Theon's tail is firmly planted between his legs, if nothing else is. So, just more room for that tail to tuck in there. And I mean, what are his options, really? Where else was he going to go?
He's in danger anywhere he would have gone. He would have been tortured more going back to Winterfell. Jon would have probably throttled him without stopping himself, and he would have been well within his rights to be if he would have went to the wall. Honestly, I mean, I think the one thing that is saving him right now at Pike is that he is Yara's brother. And that doesn't mean that she still has to be nice to you. She's pissed at you. You fucked up there too, bro.
Yeah.
But at least you get to breathe.
Yeah, for 5 minutes. And like Theon's like, he broke me into 1,000 pieces. And it's like, yeah, and he sent you. He sent one of those pieces, but it's the fact that she doesn't understand kind of entirely what he's went through, but she can kind of figure it out. And this is him really kind of coming out of the Reek stage of his character / his life, because he's on the run essentially from Ramsay now, but Ramsay's not long for this world anymore, so it's one of those things that Theon and Yara are back together as siblings, but it doesn't happen for very much longer. But still, it's a short scene, but it's just kind of like it moves that plot line along.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you want, then with Winterfell, basically, we see Osha in her very last scene. She's trying here. She was the best mother that Bran and Rickon had ever had, and she is killed by Ramsay. And he just literally just doesn't care. As soon as he stabs her in the neck, it's just like,
That's the thing.
That's it.
I don't think OSHA had enough info on Ramsey on how to play him, because if she did, she would not have gone the route that she went. She thought he was like all other dudes and it would be easy to, worm her way in and then get Rickon out the way she did with Theon. But Ramsey just ain't normal like that. So it went all bad for her. Rest in peace, Tonks. I've had to watch you die twice now, Natalia. I'm gonna need you to pick some better roles where you don't have to die, ma'am. Please. I appreciate your skill and I love seeing your pretty face, but stop dying.
I have to admit I haven't seen all the Harry Potter movies, so I haven't seen her die in Harry Potter movies. But I've read all the books, so I can imagine until I see the movie. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. OSHA definitely underestimated how incredibly vicious Ramsey is. But she does, I mean, there are things that she picks up on. What's the line that she says? Something along the lines of, you want what all men want from someone like me, or something like that. And she says, and especially if they have them washed, or something along those lines. And I was like, oh, because I didn't necessarily pick up on that line before, but I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Like that's how she's seeing it right now. But had she been more coy and less forward,
less fearless,
and less forward, would she really have survived that? I think that she was brought in there for the express purpose of killing her. I think everything that led up to it, and the washing and preparing of her, was just another one of Ramsey's games. Just another one of his games.
True enough.
Yeah, just to kind of give that false sense of security with her, like, obviously being clean, and then to just kill her off. It's like another pointless death, and a death that hopefully doesn't happen kind of like this in the books, but you never know. It's D&D. She kind of became, after season 3, which when she leaves, it's like she kind of became a character that we had to forget about for her to come back just to die. And
can I say again, these damn Stark kids, they go off to lands far, far away, and they come back looking like grown-ass men. Rickon went through like puberty and his 20s in the one season that he wasn't on the screen.
Yeah,
what the hell are they feeding these children?
Yeah, he hasn't been seen since season 3, and he just comes back. I think he was like 17 when they came back for that show.
I know, and he's like 4 when he leaves or something.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah, he's like,
and it's so bad how they did my baby. This is how we know they didn't care about Rickon. They didn't even give my boy a line.
He speaks like the last.
I think the last sounds that we hear from him is just when he's running and he's trying to get to John, and like that's it. Like, damn you bastards.
Yeah, the last time he speaks is like season 3 when he leaves, and that's like the most amount of dialogue he ever gets is in that one speech. So it's just like,
he mainly does faces.
It's like D&D just did not know what to do with the extra character that is Rickon. They just didn't know what to do with him.
Which is horrible, because there's so much that could have been done with him.
Totally.
So much with him and Shaggy Dog. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Just
wasted there. They keep wasting great characters, man.
Yeah, and speaking of kind of wastes of characters, but that can do so much better than they're given, Rob and Aaron. We check back in with Rob and Aaron and Lord John Royce and Baelish, who has arrived, and Baelish kind of gives them the update on Sansa and where he is, and gives Sweet Robin a gift that he can't throw out through the moon door, which is kind of a good thing.
Oh, Robin. Every time I see that kid on the screen, all I can see in my head is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Brave, brave Sir Robin. And he chickened out and he ran away. I just thought it was funny. But yeah, he again. What did they feed him, that kid? The last time he saw him, he was lashed onto his mom's boob. I mean,
puberty smacked him in the face too.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's like, Uncle Peter.
Yeah, and even apparently now there's even going to be another jump in terms of what Sweet Robin looks like, because he's on the list, I think, for characters for season 8. And
really?
Yeah.
He's gonna grow up all hot and stuff, and we're gonna be like,
I mean, he's a handsome boy.
Yeah,
if you see pictures of him like out of the Game of Thrones film, he's a handsome kid.
Yeah, he was on, I think, the list of the characters that are his name was on the list of the characters that's supposed to come back. And yeah, Twitter apparently was up in roar because they found like a recent picture of him and they're like, so this kid is now Sweet Robin? Like they're all confused, like entirely confused about it.
I mean, is everyone forgetting about Neville Longbottom? You can look like a dorky kid and then turn out to be a hunk when puberty comes and kicks you in the face.
Oh yeah.
This is not a new phenomenon.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just but yeah, it's something weird like that. So, yeah.
Look at Danny Bonaducci.
I mean, he was okay until the drugs got to him.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, you look at him now, you're like, yeah, okay, go sit down, old man.
Go sit down.
That works out though.
He does. Yeah, he does.
Then Peter Baelish basically talks about how Robin is in control of the Veil and in control of the Knights of the Veil. But this is, I think, where he says, now it's come to join the fray, which we're all like, what? But we obviously realize that it's Sansa who's more or less is what he's like leaning towards and not Boulder Frey, because if that had happened, whoa, a complete 180 in his character, especially because the girl that he loves is just off doing whatever she needs to do.
I think this is probably where I really started to like Jan Royce, because he has no time for Littlefinger's fuck shit. Not one little bit. As soon as Littlefinger gets there, excuse me, sir, you were on the way to the Fingers. Why is Sansa Stark now married to Ramsay Bolton? How did that happen? You did what?
Yeah.
How? Like he's everything out of Littlefinger's mouth. He's questioning, and of course Littlefinger gets tired of it, and he plays the only card that he has to play in the Vale. He says something to Sweet Robin. Sweet Robin's like, "Oh, do we need to show him the moon door?" And Littlefinger looks back at Jan Royce, and Jan Royce knows he has to back down because that is his lord. He can't go against him. Sadly, what I think Jan Royce really wants to do is to remove Littlefinger from the situation, and he's very smart in wanting to do so. Like, he's been suspicious of Littlefinger since way back.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like we see that when the death of Lysa Arryn happens, and Sansa announces who she is to him and who was the other woman in that room? I'm trying to remember now.
I can't even remember if she has a name.
I can't remember what her name is.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I'm not sure that they actually named her.
No, I don't.
But
think so.
you get the impression right from then that like he wasn't fond of him coming and marrying Lysa in the first place. So he's ready to throw Littlefinger under the carriage.
Yeah, and he and I don't even think it had anything to really do with ambition. Like, he wanted to marry Lysa. No, he thought Lysa was batshit crazy. But he's very loyal to Jon Arryn, and he wants to see his quote unquote son actually be a good lord of the Vale. So I mean, Jon, he's got his priorities in order, and he's a sharp dude.
Yeah, he's straight up loyal, and he is straight up noble,
Indeed,
exactly.
even if he has old armor. We were talking about that with Drinks and Nose Things. When they said, well, he's wearing like the old bronze armor. Well, yes, because bronze is needed in cold spaces when the ice zombies come to get him. The Royces, they remember. Those are their words. They know what the weapons are that needed, and bronze has a lot to do with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we obviously see this in when it comes to Littlefinger's death scene. Spoiler alert, that even though there's no spoilers here, it's all spoilers. But with when there's that whole death scene where he's like, I command you to bring me back to the Eyrie, and he's like, yeah, this is not happening. Like,
just the look on his face was priceless. He just looked like you just looked at in his head, you know, he's just saying, like, are you fucking stupid? You really think I'm gonna protect you? The fuck out of here, Littlefinger. That's not the way he said, but that's what he should have said.
Yeah, it's
like the Van Combe lady from the old Mad TV. That, you know what?
good. Like, no, not today, not ever.
Oh my!
You already know.
Actually, it cracks me up that he thought that would work.
Yeah,
you went to the motherfucker you have been pissing off for 10 seasons now. No,
not today.
His worst. I mean, I guess the thing is like when you see all the cunning that you see from Littlefinger, and I don't blame people for being upset about this, but the fact that that he brings Sansa to go and marry Ramsay, and he said, you know, and afterwards says, I made the mistake. I didn't know. I trusted a stranger. I'm like, Littlefinger doesn't trust strangers.
I'm looking at it like this. Oh, head turned all the way around. Like, really? Really?
Yeah.
How did you not know? How?
Yeah.
It
all
was
the
like
spies you have up north.
It was like
what you didn't know.
Robin Aaron's dumb rubbed off on him or something.
Yeah. It's something like that where it's just like, how did you not know? Which is a big thing of like, Sansa brings it up, I think, next episode, in episode 5. She's like, did you know about him? And he's like, I heard whispers, like, I think, and then this is when he mentions, like, I heard whispers about him. I didn't like hear like this whole
so you heard something you knew.
Yeah, so it's like,
then you fucking knew. You can't say you didn't know, you asshole, and you sent her there anyway.
Yeah, it's like, you liar.
You're lucky she's alive. You were legit lucky she's still alive.
It's like, you sneaky.
Oh boy. Oof.
Welcome to the latest episode of Hating on Littlefinger.
Fucking me deserves it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, only if but yeah, it's just stupid. Littlefinger, just stupid.
Yeah. That was our tidbit of stupid for the episode. Basically, was Littlefinger controlling the Lord of the Vale with random threats to Jan Royce, and Jan Royce looking like he wanted to absolutely strangle Littlefinger with his bare hands. Just like you could see it in his eyes. It's great face acting for that guy.
Yeah,
totally.
Just giving the gift of a falcon, like not even like the actual bird that's just on the sigil of House Aaron, but still, it's just so stupid. Anyway, before we continue the description, talking about other things about how Baelish is just not a good leader.
That's a whole other episode.
Yeah, we'll jump over to Marine, where basically Tyrion is trying to deal with the wise masters of Yunkai and the good masters of Astapor.
The benevolent masters of Volantis.
And basically they decide that Tyrion's going to give them 7 years to break down slavery, and so they cannot use slavery after 7 years of the show, or 7 years past this point, which they kind of agree to, but Missandei and Grey Worm do not like this. So what do we all think?
I think I was expecting the secrecy that Grey Worm and Missandei were showing to go in a completely different direction than it ended up going. I don't know. They've never done anything to make me think they were ever disloyal to the cause, but it just seemed off for them to look like they were plotting. So I had a big question mark over both their names for this whole season when it came to this scene. But they were right. You know, I think they counseled Tyrion quite accurately. You know, if you think you're going to use these people, they're going to end up using you too. I mean, you're used to playing the Game of Thrones in Westeros, but this is a whole different ball game over here. The same tricks don't work. So you need to be thinking along different lines and be very careful with how you deal with them. Sound advice.
I think that they did a pretty good job sort of showing Missandei and Grey Worm as both, you know, they're used to being complicit because they were both raised as slaves. And I think that I thought they looked suitably uncomfortable with what was going on, even though they don't say anything until later to Tyrion. Because, I mean, really the plotters are Tyrion and Varys. And Missandei and Grey Worm are just along for the ride, and they're not really used to being like, okay, well, I'll talk about this later. But they are used to not saying anything and keeping their opinions to themselves. The difference now being that when it's all said and done, they're just like, listen, that was stupid. It was a bad idea. But I can see Tyrion's side of things too. You know, he's like, war is a terrible, horrible thing that should be ended forever. And slavery is a terrible, horrible thing that should be ended forever. I can't do both today. And I mean, he's right. They are both horrible things. And there's only so much you can do at a time.
Unfortunately, especially in Marine, when you are vastly outnumbered and the woman that could have kept them in check is missing and they know she's missing. So yeah, you got your work cut out for you right now.
But he does do a good job of setting them up to fail, like the slave owners. He does a good job of setting them up to fail because he knows it's only a matter of time until they break that pact. He's looking to buy time, and I think he accomplishes that task in the long run.
Yeah,
even though it's an awful way to do it.
Yeah, 7 years, but they're like, sure. And obviously, we know that they try to uprise again later on. But yeah,
Missandei they got them all the way together. I don't remember what episode that is, but please let me know when you get to that.
It's episode 9.
Yeah, it's episode 9. It's the first. That's the only chunk. That's the first chunk of Battle of the Bastards.
That's right. That's right. Okay. And I am already signed up for that. Clarissa, you going to be around for that one?
Oh yes.
Okay. I'm going to put you on the list.
We'll have a mega panel for that one.
I hope so, because
I love that.
I'm very interested in hearing what everyone.
It'll be the third last live episode of Club before the new ones, so that'll be fun.
Yes, it is.
But so yes, Tyrion just is still trying to learn and how to navigate a language that he kind of doesn't understand, because in the last episode he wanted to tell a woman that he wanted to eat her baby. But obviously that was
Boris was just looking at him like, bruh, just stop talking, please.
And then
let me translate for you. Shut up.
Yeah, because then in the next scene, there's a bunch of people who have come and they want Daenerys back, but they're like, well, Daenerys is, and Tyrion's like, well, Daenerys is not here, and he's trying to speak in basically broken Valyrian, and Missandei's like, I got you, homie. I'll help you out. And they just have, like, they still continue to buy time, which is just, thankfully Missandei's still there, because, you know, she's the one who knows 19 different languages and she can translate pretty much anything backwards, forwards, frontwards, backwards. It's just,
of all of the characters that they decided to change their age in casting, I applaud them for giving us Natalie Emmanuel.
Yeah, she does very well, and yeah, she's I think 11. Sunday is supposed to be like 11, or
I think
she's really
like
young
10 or 11 in the book, but yeah, on the show, yes, thank you, Natalie Emmanuel. We appreciate your service.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of the end of Marine. So, do we want to go to the Wall or King's Landing, or
let's see? I think we've got all of the small things out the way, so let's
Maybe King's Landing?
King's Landing,
Sure.
yeah, that's a bit smaller than the wall.
Mm-hmm. So basically, Marjorie is freed from her cell only to be met with the High Sparrow, who basically talks about the Book of the Stranger, in all intents of purposes, and then she goes and meets with Loris, and they have their special conversation, and then there's the plotting to get Marjorie out of underneath the Sept of Baelor. So, what do you feel about these kind of chunks of scenes here with Crazy Sparrow and so on and so forth?
It solidifies more that he is just feeding into his own bullshit. He's talking about how, when he was a working man, he figured out that, money was really the root of all the problems, and it created greed and all this other nonsense. Like, bruh, what do you think you're doing now? You talk all this talk, but when we first saw you, you were in the middle of Flea Bottom, barefoot, serving the poor. Now look at where you're living. If you're really that self-righteous, why did you feel the need to change that situation? You could still be doing what you're doing where you were.
He went from being ambitious and proud to being pious and proud.
And petty.
Yeah, absolutely. But he takes pride in how he walked away from that life. And that pride in itself is a failing.
Is exactly. And he does not see that. And that it's a common thing to see in a lot of folks that get into those positions of power. And he doesn't even see what he's doing as a position of power. But bruh, you're literally trying to control the crown. How do you not see that your plotting is the evil that you're talking about?
And I love that through all of this, like as he's drawing these parallels of their lives between him and Marjorie, it's almost as if Marjorie sees in her mind, she's like, we're no different. We're the same. This is his drive for ambition. She sees him for exactly what he is. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the reasons that Marjorie is probably one of my favorite characters in the series, is they definitely, I think they downplay it to a certain degree, but you really do get a sense that Marjorie knows what's going on. She's nobody's fool. She's definitely her grandmother's granddaughter. Mm-hmm. And that in situations where she's somewhat powerless, she's looking for that foothold at every turn.
And she's playing the game. She plays along where she needs to. But yeah, she was a very well-learned Padawan of Olenna Tyrell, and she learned her lessons well. Absolutely. It's one of the reasons I was so sad to see her go.
She and Cersei both get out of the Sept, but Marjorie gets out of it better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she plays it smarter after she gets out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and she's wise right up to the end.
Yeah, very true. At the last minute, she's screaming, bruh, come out of your fuck shit and let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. Break up this party, yo. The cops are coming.
Yeah, break up the party. Yeah. And she kind of talks to Loris and how that the High Sparrow's main mission is to break them all apart. But they're not, because they're growing strong. They're House Tyrell, and that they're going to stick together until the end, which coming into the second kind of scenes in King's Landing, they talk about how Cersei walks in on Pycelle advising to Tommen about what to do with the High Sparrow, and Cersei's like, we're not having this. Go away. Leave me with my son, and we'll figure this out. And Tommen just wants Marjorie back now. He's like, now that I have you back, Mom, I want my wife back. And that he'll try and get her back as good as she possibly can without any repercussions. And that the High Sparrow is gonna get messed up. But obviously that doesn't happen based off of the next few scenes that we get in King's Landing.
This honestly was another spot where if somebody really would have popped off and started the fight, High Sparrow and Faith Militant could have been got right then and there. Yeah, there would have been a riot, but y'all assholes were on horseback. You could have galloped through that shit and got back to the Red Keep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, they've had riots in King's Landing before in recent history.
Exactly. It wouldn't be the first time.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
And this time there aren't any innocent maidens of the royal family that were there. It was just the soldiers. So I think, the riot would have been put down pretty quick, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Like the whole Cersei and just her trying to figure out Tommen again and trying to get him back into her arms. And then obviously Cersei talks to Olenna and Kevin and it's like, this is what we're going to do. You're going to bring the Tyrell army and we're just going to make sure that we get not only Marjorie back, but we get her back and she's safe and she doesn't have to do the Walk of Atonement. Natalie Dormer doesn't get to do the Walk of Atonement, but her husband is now on the side of the I love the High Sparrow. I love the Faith of the Seven. We're just gonna just revel in that, and you can see Jaime's face just going, "What the hell did I do?"
As it happens, yeah. Jaime looks confused. Mace has no clue what the hell's going on because Mace never knows what the hell's going on. And Lady Olenna's the only one there like, fuck, we lost. Because she saw the game for what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, we lost. It's like, what's wrong? And then it's just like, we've already lost.
Yeah.
And then the people in the town folk in the background, they're just like, no, we got to see one queen naked. Why not get the other one? And it's just like, they at the same time, like they're just going nuts.
See, that's why I don't like the freaking small folk of King's Landing. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
they are some fickle, ridiculous bastards. Every last one.
They're dirty minds and all of that.
Like the things that they cheer for, it that boggles my brain.
Yeah, it's. I kind of am bothered by the fact that they almost portray all the people in King's Landing like they all live in Flea Bottom.
Yeah,
because
I noticed that.
They don't all. I mean, maybe they're the ones that have the time to go to these things because everybody else is at work. I don't know, but I think in some ways they're trying to demonstrate how large the gap is between the haves and the have-nots, because there's so many people who are poor. But I think that there's very few like tradespeople and stuff represented in scenes like this. And like I said, it's like all of Flea Bottom came out because their football team was in that day or whatever.
Yeah, like they don't ever show the noble class. Like we see the king and the royal family and some folks that are connected to them, but there's other nobles and low-level lords that are all around King's Landing. That's the class we never see. It always just goes straight to Flea Bottom.
Yeah, it's one of the, it's just everybody.
This city has 7 gates that you can go in and out of it from. Where's all the people from the other parts of town?
Yeah, you get the highest of the high and the lowest of the low, but it's very rare that you get the middle. Like
exactly.
I think it's like at the end of season 3 when Jaime kind of comes back with Brienne that we see like this, like once he went through the gate, like some people that live like in the gates of King's Landing, but it's like never just expressed like who's in the middle in King's Landing.
Right.
Milady, it's time for the Walk of Atonement. Oh, I haven't finished stitching this cross stitch. Send my messenger, TiVo.
Yeah,
report in later.
Yeah, what happened? Yeah, exactly. Like it's just not the faith militant. Just like, yeah, we're just gonna make everybody just do the Walk of Atonement. But yeah. Anyway,
and how honestly, I get the sentiment behind that. It's to, humble, quote unquote, humble someone. But you don't think there's better ways to put out your message so people don't resent you in the long run?
I guess they wouldn't be so
like
militant
Cersei
then,
through that.
They wouldn't so much be like the faith militant as much as like the faith finaglers.
Yeah.
Point.
Yeah, true enough.
Yeah, they wouldn't be as like hard pressed to like make people follow the religion, and plus, as we see, the small folk, they just follow whatever is just right in front of them.
Whatever is cool for the day is what they do.
Exactly, and then they're just like, why not? So, we can go to the wall before we go to Vase Dothrak. So, this is where we actually start off this episode at Castle Black, where Dolores Ed is watching John basically pack up to go leave because as of the last episode, he has now been relieved of the Night's Watch. But before he leaves, his sister or cousin shows up with Brienne and Podrick, and we get the first Stark reunion since season 1. And it's just, this scene is just so awesome. And then we get to see the perspective of Davos and Mel when John is leaving. So, or about to leave again. So, what do we think about the wall and what happens at the wall?
I thought it was very fitting that John be the first person from the family that Sansa sees after all of this. Because John is, I don't think anyone in the North disliked John more than Sansa, other than her mother. And when she, now she's gone through all of this stuff and she's seeing what it's like to live as somewhat of an outcast and having your life in danger all the time. And she gets to the first bit of family that she's seen in years. Hard-lived years. And she totally breaks and runs to him and throws her arms around his neck. And I thought that was just the awesomest scene. And John is John. All that stuff from way back when affected him, but he is still a family man through and through. He I don't care about the Targaryen blood. He's a Stark through and through, and they are about the pack. When he sees his little sister, he runs to her too. That was totally a two-way street, and I thought that one scene alone was worth the whole episode. I loved how they came together.
Yeah, I would agree. I still get emotional just thinking about it, even when I do a rewatch, even though I've seen it so many times. I still go back to the first time I saw it when it first aired on television, and that moment, and like the only time you really see a glimpse of relief on Sansa's face is when they're running from the dogs, and there's that moment when she's so cold and Theon holds her and is rubbing her back to try and warm her up. And it's almost like it's the first time anybody's given her comfort in so many years. Like that there's so much pain. And then when she's with John, it's like, there's no dogs this time. There's no, I'm behind the walls of Castle Black and I'm with my brother. And that moment, see, I get emotional even now.
It's a touch from someone that she actually wants. Like she wants to be totally, fully engrossed in that. And, she thought her whole family was dead and gone. And John thought the same thing too. So now he's like, oh, my little sister's still alive? What? No hesitation at all. He goes out to make sure and sees it through because he's been fooled once. He's been fooled about family showing up once. But he goes and looks. And as soon as he sees her, there's that pause where they're looking at each other, and after that, just they hit the ground running, and it's so powerful to see. I really love that scene.
It's also that
really magic.
It's that understanding that you're real, like you're actually standing in front of me, like even though we have that whole thing in the book more or less than in the show, that there's that discourse between the two of them, that she was very much like Sansa was very much like Catelyn in the terms of the treatment that she gave John when they're much younger, which they kind of bring up in the second kind of part of this episode, this sequence. But when you because I can even remember like the first time seeing this, because you don't expect it. Like you think that he's just going to be leaving and then she's going to show up, like the traditional whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that those two are together for the first time, and it's their first time that they've ever been on screen together at the same exact time, with them being the main focus of this whole thing. It's like because they've always had them separated, and it's just
whoever blocked out that scene was like really thinking, because they're talking about something completely different, and about how he's got to leave the watch and yada yada, and then and they open the gate, and you see Pod and Brienne and Sansa, and you're like, like your breath catches in your throat, and you're waiting. And you're waiting, and like you were saying, Alicia, they have that pause where they're looking at each other across the courtyard, like they're studying one another, like, because they're adults now, and they were children. Right?
They were little kids.
And they're just like, and it's that moment, and you're looking for sort of like that change of expression or that turn of head or something that makes that person the person you think that they are.
Right, it's so right. And they very quickly, and I know they touched on it later while they were talking at the fire, but I think within that look, they very quickly forgot all of that fuck shit, because none of that matters anymore. None of it matters at all. That was then. This is now. Holy fuck, you're alive. Fucking come here.
Yeah, exactly. It's that recognition of I'm now safe.
I'm not a lone wolf anymore, right?
And that now I have family, because we know that John would have done the same thing if he had met with Bran, like those multiple times that Bran has come through the wall and not through the wall, done the same thing. But it's the fact that it's his sister, the one that was like kind of made him more of the outcast than the rest, is here, and he is going to protect her no matter what, which kind of brings the second part of their conversation where they're sitting by the fire, and you realize that it's the cloak that's around her is his. I think it's his old one before they went to the wall. That's that one cloak when he was still a recruit that she's using. So it's just that sweet thing of like, your children, and like, she's like, forgive me for what I did wrong, like, because she's like, I've done all of this stuff in the past, and just forgive me. And it's like, fine, I'll forgive you. But and then he talks about kind of how he had to kill Ollie, and that he's like, I've killed people younger than Bran, and I've had to kill people that I don't like, because this is where she's really wanting to go back to Winterfell. Like, she's like, well, I guess because you're free from your vows, we can go home now. And because they have and all of this stuff, it's like them wanting to go home and wanting to be a family again, or have any remnants of family that's possible. I
think one thing that John says in that scene in their conversation that really stood out, it's my boy's tired. He has had a long, hard years, just as hard as all of the rest of the pack. And he was like, I've been fighting since I left Winterfell. Ever since he left, that first fucking day he showed up at Castle Black. He's been battling since then. And he's been stabbed up. He's just come back from the fucking dead. I think he deserves a vacation. So while their home has enemies in it, and he should be rallying the troops to go back, he's just sitting there like, oh fuck, what now? Damn it, I just got released from these vows and I don't have to fight these assholes anymore. And you telling me there's another fight over there now that I have to go to? Just and I feel him because
totally. You can't help but empathize with the guy.
Man, like poor John. He's got so much to do.
Yeah, and then you got to do more fighting, and that's why he'll probably be alive in the end, and then he won't have to do any fighting. He'll be like, I'll just leave you all. You do whatever you want. I'll just sit here and just sit.
Like, you know what? I'm not even gonna sit here. I'm gonna just go into the woods. Don't fucking follow me. I'm out. Yeah. When I say I'm leaving this time, I mean it.
And goddamn,
I'm taking my dragon, my wolf, my girl, and my baby that's probably in her stomach right now. And we out. Okay.
Where we're gone. But yeah. And
Yeah.
then, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the letter is the only thing that really clinches it for him. I think he's on the fence right up to the point that the letter comes from Ramsey. I think up to that point he's like, I'm not sure this is something I want to do. And then I think that was sort of like the point at which he realizes that there is no avoiding the fight. There is no avoiding, like, he might want what he wants, but how often do we get what we want out of life?
Especially now that he knows one of the pack is in danger. Because everybody else he thinks is dead. Sansa's right next to him. He's got her. He can keep her safe right there.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to go fight people at Winterfell for that. But now that their little brother is there, that's the catalyst. And Sansa, learning her lessons and using them, that's what she uses to help push him over the line. It's not even about Winterfell anymore. We got to go save our brother.
Yeah.
Kind of fucked up that she did it that way, but you got to do what you got to do. Honestly, can't blame her for it.
Yeah, and it's when he's reading the letter, he's just like, Winterfell is mine, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and that's it. And then he just throws the letter at the table. And then she's like, no, there's more to this. Like the fact that he only reads like half of the letter. And then it's like, I'll have my men rape your sister. I'll have your eyes spooned out while you watch. And your brother will be killed right in front of you. Like, he doesn't want her to be subjected to that. But she's like, I don't care. It's like,
like, bruh, do you know where the fuck I've been the last 5 years?
Like, worse things have happened to me before, and threats of all the other kind. It's just,
Least of all, words in a letter are gonna hurt me right now, John. Stop the bullshit.
Well, and you gotta love how he's all like, bastard, bastard, bastard throughout the whole thing, and it's like
Ramsay, you the only one in the story that's really worried about being called a bastard, dude.
Yeah, like,
John's pretty much immune to that shit now. Tyrion got him all the way together on that.
Right.
So you saying it over and over again, that's not having the effect that you think is having that effect. It's like my boy in The Princess Bride. You keep on using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Right.
Exactly.
You're not irking his nerve at all by calling him a bastard. He knows that's what he is. So next.
Yeah, you're just like, what? But yeah, we realize in this scene, because it's also Ed getting a comedic moment because Sansa's like trying to figure out what this meat is that she's like been given, and she's just like, sorry about the food, it's not what we're known for. And she's like, it's fine, don't worry about it. Like,
just to cut in there, I used to work for a butcher. It's a sheep's tongue.
Oh yay!
Figure, because it's like because they got 5-figure hob is probably we need some rest today. But yeah, and then because the strangest thing about this too is that the pink letter actually shows up before Jon is killed. So it's like, why did you do that switch? And I guess it's because of this direction that they're going in. But yeah, we find out that basically Jon's little army starts with 2,000 wildlings that can fight, that are not the young little kids and then the old people, while Ramsay has about 5,000. So their odds are already stacked against them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's just the one scene that we skipped over, but we can talk about quickly is Davos talking to Mel about staying or going for Castle Black, and then they meet with Brienne, and Brienne gives the confirmation that she killed Stannis, which was a thing that was kind of left ambiguous, because it was an off-screen death.
Yeah.
So.
And Stannis, sad to say, he deserved it, and he recognized that he deserved it, and he went out like a soldier. Go on and do your duty.
Yeah, well, I mean, he said to Stannis like 1,000 times, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. And now he's like, oh, he's dead. I told him it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm glad he sent me away because I kept telling him it was a bad idea.
And then he died. So it's like,
So yeah. All right, that happened. Well, thanks for letting me know. That's pretty much where Davos was at. All right. Appreciate the info.
I kind of figured, but yeah, to know now, it's just like, damn it. Yeah, Mel is gonna go with John because she wants to see the Bolton banners fall at Winterfell, and that all of that fun stuff that she saw in the visions from John. Now that she has her faith reinstated in John, which is always like a good thing, I guess. But yeah, it's kind of where the wall ends. Is that they've decided that they're gonna go fight. But yeah,
solicit the northern houses for assistance.
They're gonna go. Rally the troops, as many as they can get. That happens starting in the next episodes when they leave. But yeah, it's just they're gonna go rally the troops, and it's just gonna be a fun time, fun few episodes.
Fun old Battle of the Bastards town.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the last place that we get to visit this episode is Vace Dothrak, which we find Jorah and Dario on the outskirts of Vace Dothrak, and then they go kill some people, and then we go see they go and see Dany. So,
Friend zone and future friend zone teaming up.
Yeah, exactly, right?
These two, oh my goodness. Go ahead, Clarissa.
After you said this, I just have this picture of like an opening intro with both Jorah and Dario, like, and in the middle it's like friend zone, and then it's like the adventures of the guys in the friend zone. But anyway,
Yeah,
maybe it'll be a future YouTube series somebody decides to take on.
yeah, probably.
Friend zone.
Or like edits. Yeah.
This week's episode of Friend Zone Adventures. So Jorah lets his grayscale show because he didn't wear a new shirt. This is where it starts to come out that it's going to become common knowledge simply because Dario has seen it when he's trying not to pass the pretty dagger with the naked lady on it. And yeah. I like how he's like, I'll bury it myself. It's just like, don't touch my things. You saw what happened to that poor little girl. So, but I love how practical Jorah is, and Dario is very contrastingly like, let's do it.
He's like the overly excited Energizer Bunny. He's basically John in Battle of the Bastards, just running in head first. But he's always been like that from the very first time we saw him doing any type of fighting. That's just his MO.
I love that. Weren't you ever disciplined as a child? He's like,
right? Like, did they
never.
not teach patience in the fighting pits? I don't understand what's happening with you right now, young man. Calm down.
So stupid. Yeah, and then the whole you can't bring weapons into Vace Dothrak. But Dario kind of figures out a way to kind of make it look like he was not being stabbed. Which is just like, ugh. But he's like, it has to be done with crushing that guy's skull.
Yeah.
And then we obviously see the second part of Dany being dealt with the Vace Dothrak and the women there, and she's not having it. She's just like, well, I'm supposed to do this, and I'm the mother of dragons, and all of these things. And they're just like, yeah, but it doesn't really matter here. Like, titles don't really matter. It's like, you thought you were gonna be the wife of the man who's gonna do all of these great things for you. Yeah, and he died, and that doesn't mean anything else. And it's also because she ran away from her destiny that she's even more in much more trouble.
I question the Dothraki and all their nonsense sometimes too. Like, how is it anybody's destiny to go live in some random colony where there's just a bunch of old women walking around and widows? Like, really?
Well, but my understanding of the Dosh Khaleen was that they were also considered to be advisors to the, like, their knowledge is sort of somewhat revered among the Khals. That was sort of the impression that I got. I mean, obviously only as much as they have respect for women in their culture, because there's only so much status a woman can have in the Dothraki.
Right. Yes.
But I loved the moment where the leader lady of the Dosh Kalin is saying to Dany, when she says, I have to go make water. And she says, you can't run away. And when Dany says, I would never run away from the Dothraki. Like she straight up didn't know that she was supposed to join this group. She didn't understand the rules. I kind of find it weird that Jorah never brought it up, because he seemed to know, because they brought it up when they're outside Vast Dothrak. So
he was trying to get her to go everywhere but Vast Dothrak or Westeros.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. But I'm surprised he never brought it up or said, if we ever encounter Dothraki again, this could be a problem. Like she doesn't seem to know about it.
Sir Friend Zone. He wasn't thinking straight. That's pretty much it.
He's like, she touched my hand. Don't do it now. I'll give you grayscale, but
touch this other hand, not this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like just make sure you hit with the right one. But yeah, she's gonna start to instigate not instigate, but she wants to create a distraction fight.
And I love that she runs up into them when she's like, I gotta go pee.
Yeah.
Did she ever have a chance to go pee?
I think it was an excuse to get out of the room. Because she just said, I just didn't want to be there. I just needed air. Because she talks about how the women of Vast Dothrak, I guess, don't shower as much as she expects, because they're stinky. And they run into Jorah and Dario, and that pretty much they're just gonna, I have a plan and you just have to help me. And obviously the plan is that she goes in, she has her trial of sorts, and she sets them on fire, because she is I am Miss Fireproof. And yeah, and that's how we kind of end the episode, is her kind of coming out of the fire, and Jorah seeing her for one more time. Nick,
I was not mad at that at all. I mean, you assholes already know what she can do. You have seen, you've heard the stories. Y'all always talking about the freaking prophecy and whatnot. Hello, the bitch has dragons. What did you really think was going to happen to you? Did you really think you were going to conquer this woman? I mean, you talk all that shit all you want to, but clearly you haven't been paying attention to the same damn show we've been watching.
Yeah,
so now all your asses get lit on fire, and Dracarys, bitch, burn. Fuck all y'all.
Exactly. It's like, you guys didn't notice how long her braid is?
Son, I'm telling you, she honestly has not lost the fight. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, and I mean, she's been held back a couple times, but no, when she goes in until she got to Westeros. That is her. Then her braid probably should be a lot shorter now, but we're not under those rules anymore.
Or chopped off, when she lost Viserion, it could have been chopped off, but she kind of just. I think they just like the aesthetic of braids and what the braids mean now. It's just like I don't think they've kind of stepped away from what the braids actually mean anymore. It's just kind of just like that's just Dany's hair now. Like,
I'm kind of mad that literally none of those men, I mean, there are 30 or 40 of them in there. None of you looked at the pyres that she was just walking around casually touching and holding on to, and you weren't thinking, how is her hand not burning? Why does the heat seem to not affect her? Because fire, how it works, and if you get too close to it or you touch metal that's that close to it, it's gonna burn. None of you noticed this and thought about it at all?
After I rewatched it, I did see that. I did. Like, she puts her hand on
one of the basket,
the cage of the brazier, and she's like,
she leans on it for a little bit.
At least a couple of the guys in that scene were like, what?
Yeah. They just didn't
The
alert
rest
the
of
other
them
one.
were just like, "Arr!" But a few of them
Stand down.
at least played out the scene. I was like,
Right
good
then
work,
and there
you
is
guys.
where you should have got up like, hey, my bad. I'm not with these assholes anymore. I forgot that Khal Drogo was actually cool and you were his girl, so I'm gonna go outside and stand with everybody else. And you handle these fools. I'll meet you out there.
Yeah, like, anybody got a cigarette? I'm going to the smoke pit.
I need to go make water.
Yeah,
I'll be back.
It's just something weird, and then because it's all the calls that burn in this. So we just, I guess, all of the male Dothraki people are just either just blood riders or like sons of blood riders now.
Yeah, I think it's just the blood riders and on down from there that's left. All the calls are gone.
Mm-hmm.
You have to love how like all the crowd that are around the sides of the fire that don't actually see what's going on, see all these people bowing down and are just like, okay, just get down, just bow down, just bow down.
Bow down to whatever.
But just hit the ground.
Right, something is happening. Let us not get killed in this fire. Obviously, it means something. Let's just follow the crowd on this one. We'll ask questions later.
Frank over there seems to know what's going on. I trust Frank.
Let's creep over and go talk to Frank. Hey, Frank, what is happening with this damn fire? Where are all the calls? What is going on here?
She's naked.
She killed them all. So we kind of like owe her.
Lady came out of the fire. Yeah. And then Jorah obviously sees her naked, which is a big thing that he mentioned when he was with Tyrion. It's like, I saw her the one time, and I expected to see her one time with the boat with just her charred bones, and then she just out of the fire unhurt, and just like get to see it one last time and then he bows his head, and then Dario's just sitting there like, I knew you were spectacular, but even now, just seeing this again, seeing it from my own eyes, just like, damn.
And I love how Dario's head goes down, and they've all got their heads down, and Jorah's kind of like,
one
last time.
He's like a little kid that's like looking between their fingers when their parents tell them to cover up their eyes.
Yeah, just like,
I cannot deny myself this pleasure.
Yeah, singer one. Creepy Jorah back again for one last.
At least he's not as creepy as he was in the books, though. Like, he's so much worse in the book, and he's not even handsome in the books. Like, he's the epitome of a short, hairy Northman. It's not good.
Yeah, I know. I'm fine with Ian Glenn.
Yeah, they zhuzhed him up for the show, but
they had to give him a character that was actually handsome and has a spectacular voice. If you guys haven't listened to any of the books that Ian Glenn has narrated, you should definitely get on that. I think he did The Princess and the Queen and The Rogue Prince.
Very cool.
And he did spectacular at both of them.
I have to go. When I have my free time, I'll have to go and look at it.
Free time? What is free time?
I know.
What is this concept you speak of?
Yeah, exactly.
Please tell me he does it in his Scottish accent. The books.
I don't think he does.
Does he? Does he put on a British?
He does have the different voices. He does do that quite well. And when it's just like narration, you hear more of the English in his tone than Scottish. Either way, enjoyable.
Yeah. It has to do with a lot of trading too. Like, I went to school with a gal from Australia, and she lost her accent when we were in grade 11 or something like that. But anytime she picked up a book and was reading from the book, she had an accent again. So I don't know, maybe, but it was an English accent, even though she spoke with an Australian accent every day because of how she learned how to read in school.
If I'm around my dad's family and like my little sisters for more than a couple days, West Indian accent just everywhere. Any other time, I lost it as a kid, but as soon as I get around them, it's a wrap.
It comes back.
Yep. Funny thing, accents.
Yeah, accents are just this weird thing that, like, you pick them up, especially if you're near people who have just accents like that. Like, yeah. And Jorah's just my Khaleesi. Even
Now, anytime I think of Jorah, I just hear freaking Johnny in my head.
I know. So
same thing with
funny.
Baelish as well, the Baelish accent.
Khaleesi.
Sansa.
Khaleesi.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
Oh,
He'll be back. Yeah,
Creepy Jorah and creepy Littlefinger.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Johnny, I'm gonna need you to stop voicing creepy characters, young man.
yeah. He'll have to. Yeah, you'll have to.
We need to find you someone better to put you.
And then he wanted to. I think one time he was trying to do Ramsay at one point. I was like, "You're really gonna try that one too in your repertoire?" It's like first you get Baelish, creepy.
We're just getting
Jorah,
worse and worse.
and now Ramsay, creepy. But
Don't do that.
anyway,
Pick someone from the north.
Yeah, like he does Jon Snow too. So, but that's like on the rare occasion, which just force more Jon Snow and less Ramsay Bolton. But yeah. Anyway, we have reached the end of this episode.
Indeed, we have.
Did we do? So, final thoughts for this episode and your ratings.
Let's see. Final thoughts. All around decent episode. I think definitely everything at the wall is probably my favorite part. So I will give this an 8.5 burning calls.
Ooh. Yeah, I love that moment at Winterfell, but the ending of this episode, it makes me want to again give it a 9. I give it 9. That's what I give it.
the music at the end with Danny. The music at the
Danny
end.
with her Jesus worship music.
I know.
Danny's Jesus music. Oh man,
They like bring in a choir and they like
Right.
stand over.
Like, just stand over here. Don't go close to the fire.
yeah, they did like a behind the scenes of them. I think with that specific fire and like how they had to contain it and all of this other stuff. But like it was just
do it in one take.
like all that pressure and all that time for like one take is just so crazy.
With
But-
real pyrotechnics.
That's harsh because anything can go wrong when it comes to pyrotechnics.
And yeah, so I would probably give this episode 9 because I just love this episode so much. It's one of my favorites. 9 Jon and Sansa's 9 sibling hugs.
Oh.
Aww.
Jon and Sansa's sibling hugs. Like that's just a sibling bonding moments too that they have in this episode because you can still see that they have this tension between the two of them, but it's like over time you just kind of do that as you're older with your siblings. You just if you fight and then she's like, well, I still love you anyway.
Enter all of the Jon and Sansa shippers.
Yeah, exactly.
I was on the fence on that whole idea.
It happens. And, yeah.
I mean, for their world, honestly, it's as plausible as him and Danny.
Totally.
It could have went either way. Honestly, it really could have went either way. I think I probably would have been fine with both.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
like if we kind of mention it on Johnny's channel for when he was talking about Jon Snow, the character, the brooding hero, how they kind of, if they do it, they will do it in this final season of the hinting at it because it was in the original plot line for the book series that there was going to be
Arya.
Yeah, I was gonna say him and Arya were the.
Yeah, so it's
one I
not
heard
a
about.
stretch at all for
No.
me to see it happen with Sansa on screen versus Arya. I mean,
'cause it's,
makes
you could
more
say-
sense for Sansa, honestly, because she's older.
Yeah, it's the more age appropriate.
And they've had that opposite and that real up and down background history. So to move past that into romance, I mean that's kind of how it works.
Also, the one quote from Ned: just "Find you someone brave, gentle, and strong." Yes, you
there
can
you
say
go.
that's Gendry, but also he, for all intents and purposes, saved Sansa from the most evil person she's ever known, which is Ramsay. So Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like it, but you can't put our rules onto that world. It's not how it works.
Yep, exactly. You can't put a 21st century perspective on like something from like the 14th century.
Especially when the author himself was going to have it go this exact same route.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get over it.
Exactly. So, although we already did this, where can the people find you, ladies? Everywhere else.
Basically everywhere else is where I am. I'm always perusing the chats. I will be continuing the Land series with JD and Lavlov sometime soon. Check out JD's channel if you want to see our discussion about book 1 of that series. American Gods is going strong. I would assume that myself, Fandom D Saint and Living Shadow will be having some discussions about those episodes probably once the season is over. I haven't found anyone to talk to about Deadly Class just yet, but if I do find some people, then I will be doing some discussions about that because that show is fucking crazy and I love it. So that's basically it, and you'll see me around with these two lovely ladies again. I'm sure in one of these episodes I'll be on with we'll probably let the boys come back into play again.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. So, thank you, Kenzie, for having me on, and Clarissa for rambling with me. You guys are awesome, and I've been AK.
No, thank you for joining me. It's awesome that we get to talk about this, especially do an all ladies panel.
So good. And I'm Clarissa Thompson. You can find me on sporadic episodes of Episode Club. You can also find me on the Cylon Johns Friday nights on YouTube. If you're looking for me on social media, you can find me as Clarissa Thompson on Facebook. You'll see me in Geek Chat 1. And you can reach me on Twitter at Thompson Kootenai Girl, also just under Clarissa Thompson. So,
Yes, all of these links for these ladies will be in the description, as always, for every episode club, whether they're on or not. Their links are always in the description. You can always find me here on my channel, where on Wednesday we will be talking Battle of the Bastards, one of the most iconic episodes of the show, with
the silence got Mackenzie.
Oh no! The Night King's freezing the stream again.
Oh, I can do this again
for like 5 seconds.
I can do it again, but it's like, yeah, you can find me with more of the podcast editions of this show for this. On my channel, you can also find us for live streams every Wednesday, and we're not stopping until the season's over. Every Wednesday, we're still going to have a special episode club. And you can find me on Johnny's channel, and you can find me on the Cylon Johns. Everybody's links will be in the description as well. Check out John St. Baptiste's season by season, episode by episode playlist of Game of Thrones. The newest one is in the description, and he should be posting one once we finish season 6. So, other than that, thank you so much, you two, for joining me today for 2 episodes of Game of Thrones, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Asta.